that does bring us on nicely to the first clash of round 7 in Super Rugby Pacific. Your boys heading up to Orange Theory Stadium to take on the mighty Crusaders, have just got to name a casual 6 All Blacks and Lester Fainga'anuku in their backline for this one. So
7 All Blacks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, don't worry.
I'm counting Lester as an All Black. He's on fire, mate.
Yeah, we're very much on the Fainga'anuku for the All Blacks bandwagon on this podcast. So can't wait to see that happen, hopefully, against Ireland. But the last game between these two sides, it was pretty close to the first 60 minutes or so. Are you holding out some hope? And obviously, we've got to touch on the upset from last year. Can't forget that one where
that was
the Highlanders went up there and laid the smackdown.
Exceptional.
Can we see a repeat?
I think we can. I don't think we will. I wouldn't be surprised if the Highlanders won, but I'm also not going to be surprised if the Crusaders win by 20. It's a tough one. Like I was just looking at the last 10 games. Highlanders have only won 2, and the winning margin in those 8 games the Crusaders have won has been 18. The average winning margin. So I was sort of looking at the odds and the line in there, and I thought, this will be pretty close. It was 12 points last time out. The Highlanders can probably stick with them, but I don't know, man. Like we talked about, the Crusaders just go bang bang, particularly in that 65 to 80 minute mark. Yeah. But for me, the Highlanders need to start fast. That's where they've really struggled the first few weeks of this tournament. They've started slow and they've been chasing the game. Shore up their defense around the ruck. That's been horrible, and their midfield defense. So a little bit to work on.
Obviously,
keen to hear what you guys think.
Obviously, the Crusaders would have been. I think they would have had a target on that Chiefs game last week, right? Like after losing to them a couple of weeks before. Do you reckon there's a potential of a bit of a letdown here, Jimmy? Like if they were all in for last week, and maybe there's still a few lingering effects of COVID around the camp and whatnot. Maybe they take the foot off the gas here a bit, or Southern Derby, they're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. I think all the New Zealand teams know that if you're slightly off on your game coming up against them, you're gonna lose those games. So there's such small margins that decide games these days. So I think the Crusaders, and looking at their lineup, what they've named, they're definitely not taking this game lightly. They haven't rotated anyone. They're looking to get their combinations going. So I'm a little bit like Carl. It wouldn't fully surprise me if the Highlanders won, but I also think the Crusaders might put on a clinic in this game and they get their combinations hissing. And I'd probably be leaning towards the 13+ margin.
Yeah, no, I could certainly see it being one of those games where the Crusaders just score a couple of those early tries, like they sometimes do, right? They come flying out the blocks. Will Jordan's just created something out of nothing, and then it's like sort of a 12, 14-point game, and they just keep the Highlanders at arm's length. The rest of it.
The Highlanders fans know that all too well. Just like, if we just score a try now, we're back in it.
I think it was when the Hurricanes went down there last season. Artie got sin binned about 10 minutes in. The Crusaders scored 3 tries while he was in the bench, and the rest of the game it was just like back and forth. They couldn't get any closer, but they weren't pulling away. So
looking at those results in those last 10, I haven't got the numbers here, but there was a lot of sort of 20-point blowouts, and I can remember watching a lot of them, and it was like right up until this 70th, 75th minute, the Highlanders were only sort of 1 try away, and then like I say, it's bang bang. It's like, oh cool. Now it looks like it was a terrible game. So the score probably doesn't reflect, the margin probably doesn't reflect the games, but you just got to be playing for 85 minutes against the Crusaders team.
And that's when the bench comes into it too. I feel like the depth that the Crusaders have in their squad and along their bench makes a massive impact when they start bringing them on with 20, 10, 30 to go. They're the guys who are really bringing that next level and finishing teams, like you said, like in those last sort of 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's going to should be a good one, especially looks like we're going to have a dry track at Orange Theory Stadium. A bit of rain in the morning that should have cleared up by around lunchtime. We're all sort of leaning the way the Crusaders, probably be a good one for a bit of a same-game multi with same-game claim and play. Who do you reckon is a good try score option to chuck in, you're saying we had multis, James, for you to. There's plenty of options to pick there from the Crusaders.
Plenty. I haven't actually seen the odds, but I mean, Will Jordan's always a great shout. The kid loves a try. Leicester, he's always hungry, especially when he gets close to the line. He'll run some of those hard lines like he did the other week actually against the Chiefs. He loves that line and can always find his way over. Cody Taylor's not a bad shout at the back of them all. So there you're probably three standouts. Looking for a little bit of value. Ethan Blackadder.
Yeah, I think
any of the All Blacks.
Loose forwards have a pretty good try scoring record against the Highlanders this season. You sort of touched on their defence around the ruck. So I could see Ethan does love the dirty stuff. So I can see him sort of driving over for a try later on there. That'd be.
Cullen Grace was sniffing around the ruck last week.
Yeah, he was great. A couple of those runs he had out on the edges there, it was starting to look like a real dual threat player there. But I think that is there anything else you want to touch on for this game, or are you pretty keen to move on?
Just fingers crossed. Hold on, Highlanders fans.
Fair enough.
We've got to come good at some point.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, you do get to play the Rebels and the Force in a few weeks, so
I think we need a couple of wins.